I wanted to touch on a few of the issues that you probably heard already on this, just to clarify. First, regarding the change with the STAR exemption, what's, I guess, the genesis? What's the reason to do this? I mean, this is a program that's been extremely
Nothing
successful.
in my pay scale does it say, why is it done? That's not my job.
All right, fair enough. But what's the? I mean, this has been a successful program. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
It's provided property tax relief to seniors and residents across this state since its inception. It's been very successful, very popular, correct?
Yes.
So now we're changing the program. Why?
To make it better.
How are we making? Okay, I don't want to go that way with you. I'm sorry. Let me.
Oh,
let me digress a little bit here. Quick question relative to, we always adhere to we've been adhered to a 2% spending cap.
Yeah.
Now, the way I understand this proposal, if by changing it to an income tax credit, now we spend about, is it about $3.4 billion on the STAR program as it currently is this? Is that about right, approximately? So, and I know this is only affecting new homeowners, but if we were to take that and if, say, we were to apply that for everyone, and we changed it all to an income tax credit, which the governor really wanted to do, now it's not a tax exemption. Now it's not an expenditure that's coming out of the spending. Now it's a decrease in revenue that's coming in because of the tax credit. Wouldn't that then allow, because of the accounting figures, allow the state to spend, if we're using just that number as an example, $3.4 billion more within the cap?
Yes.
So isn't this really an accounting gimmick for the governor to circumvent the 2% cap that he says we have, that's really just circumventing the cap?
No, I think he thought he had an idea, and that idea is to do a better job for the people. They have the option of doing it. There's so many things we do, remembering that the 2% is self-inflicted, and the governor chooses and we choose to do it. But there are many ways that there's shifting of monies that we do, and it has nothing to do with anything other than trying to make a better government. And the governor thinks, and I agree with him, that this will help make a better government.
So there's a responsibility for notification. Who's involved in notifying the residents of the change of the program? Would that fall on the assessor? Does that fall on the state?
When they buy the house and go in, you're asking about the people who join. When they go in, they will tell them how they're going to get it back.
So more of this burden would fall on the assessor then?
Yes.
So where the municipalities where have the mandated the cap, there's more cost that would be with the change in the program to the local municipality. Wouldn't that be true?
Yes. Yes, I think so.
So what about if someone who comes in and applies before this takes effect, have applied already, but then, because I guess with the taxable year, it's my understanding from reading the language, but I'm not an attorney, but from reading the language of the bill, they apply, then this goes into effect. They've already applied.
Yeah.
Then, the way I read the language, later on, it becomes void because of the way this language reads. And just let me read it to you. It says, if any application was approved prior to the effective date of the subdivision, that is not approvable hereunder. Such approval that notice shall be required. It goes on to say that was submitted prior to the effective date, not approvable. See, I'm not a lawyer, so I just...
Oh, wait a minute.
Where did it say void? And it says it will become void. So they applied, they got accepted into the STAR program. Now this change comes in. Now that application becomes void, correct? And now they have to go back and reapply again?
That's correct.
So we're putting more of an onus and more responsibility on the assessor. We're basically putting possible that the homeowner might not do it, something can get mixed, and they would lose that exemption, correct? Or could lose that exemption.
Yes, it could happen.
So how is this making the program better when we've had a program that's worked so successfully?
You have to look at the big picture.
I'm trying, Denny. I'm trying. Believe me, I'm trying.
So am
I just don't see it. Okay, fair enough. I want to switch over to, well, one other question on that. Senior citizen, they're downsizing their home because they need to downsize, they want something less. So now after this program comes into effect, where before the taxes would just come right off their tax bill, now they're not going to be eligible to get it right off their property tax. So now they're going to have to pay for that property tax up front, correct? Mm-hmm. So senior citizens who are on fixed incomes now have to pay for this property taxes up front, and rather than getting that exemption up front. So now they have to wait whether they file their income taxes. So that's going to put more of a burden. It's going to increase the property tax for that senior citizen, correct?
No. Yeah, it may be, they will, in the end, the citizens will get it back.
But they'll have to,
they may have to pay it out first and then bring it back.
Right, and obviously you would agree, senior citizens on a fixed income, that's hard to come up with that money. And that's why the STAR program, we have the enhanced STAR that provides more of a benefit for our seniors on a fixed income, so they don't have to pay that. The state covers that. It's property tax relief, which the governor has touted. This makes the senior citizen pay that money up front, and they don't get it back until they apply.
It's only if they do something, building and work on the building.
Or if they buy a new home, they're going into a new property.
Well.
So I guess my question next is, where do they, I just don't see how this is better for the city, because it's going to put more of a challenge and a burden on our senior citizens, those on a fixed income. So that's a concern I have with this STAR change that the governor's making regarding this proposal and the fact that the legislature accepted it. Let me go on to the tax cut proposal, if I could. I know it's being touted, and I like tax cuts as much as anyone else, but I'm trying to get my hand up. This is like a 10-year phase-in of this tax cut, correct?
No.
Income tax cut?
What is it? 8 years.
I'm sorry.
6 years from when it starts.
So it basically would affect anyone from up to $300,000. So for a family of four, and this is why we have a little frustration. We had more time, more staff to go through. We can go through some more of these details. Hear from people back at home and say, hey, I want an income tax cut, but how is this going to affect me? And I guess we did some back of the napkin arithmetic here, and if I understand correctly, for a family of four making $60,000 a year, which is primarily the number of people in my district, not a lot of them make over $60,000 a year, but a family of four making $60,000 a year with the standard tax deduction, in year one, they would bring home a total of $43 in tax cuts. Does that sound right?
Yes.
So $43 in tax cuts for a family of four making $60,000 a year. That would rise to $86 in year two. So does that sound about right?
Yes, it will continue to go up.
All right. So, I mean, and again, tax cuts are important, but for a family of four to get $43, that is not a significant amount of money. Let me go on.
But when it ends, they will get more. Just like we do everything, doing it in day, little by little, this will, as you said, it will have 6 years to move up. But when we go up, it will be more money, and it will be good money.
By year 8. Okay, let's go to the farm tax credit if we could. I know a couple of my colleagues have talked about that. I recently met with one of I have an agriculture advisory committee, met with some dairy farmers. And I know the spin on this is to try to help the farmers, but I believe this proposal, quite frankly, is almost an insult to our farmers based on what we're looking at with the proposed minimum wage, because it's my understanding with the minimum wage increase, as it was mentioned, it will be 70 cents on the first year, but based on the tax credit they're going to get, they're going to get about 12 cents of that savings on a 70-cent increase. Does that sound right?
Well, yeah, if you put, and if they bought a car and they paid $30 to pay for the car, it would even be less. You're picking two numbers and then putting them together, and I don't fully understand why that should be the numbers you're using. We're giving them a tax cut, and then at the same time, we're making sure that people get paid, and they're making more money. But at the same time, caring for farmers, we didn't just say, screw it, everybody will be like New York City and that's it. We did not do that. We looked and said, how can they survive? How can we work? How can we help them? And at the same time, help the workers. And that's what we did. We did a lower number, a smaller number, but at the same time, we're also doing something to help them.
So just to give you an example of a dairy farmer in our district who's with the price of milk at $17, because you would agree the price for a dairy farmer, for a grape farmer, those prices they have no control over, so they can't just increase the price.
Yes, I know that.
So one of our dairy farmers said that they're losing at the price of $17 a hundredweight, they were losing $3.50 a day per cow. So a farm of 100 cows is losing $350 a day, every day, 7 days a week, $365 days a year, which is about $127,000. They don't have the income to do this. They have to take that off their equity. This is going to be a very, very challenging burden on them. So I guess I didn't really have a question on that then. I apologize. It's a little late. I'm a little punchy. Mr. Speaker, on the bill. Thank you, Denny.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, I know the hour's late. I know this is a bill that's talking about tax cuts. First and foremost, this STAR program change is absolutely ludicrous in my opinion. We had a program that worked, that was successful, that people liked, and to me, I think this is just an accounting gimmick so the governor can spend more money to say he's under the 2% cap, because when you look at the expenditure, now it's not going to be spent. It's going to be less tax revenue coming in. This is a control thing. This is all about controlling this project. And for our seniors who are on fixed income, now they have to pay this money out of their pocket rather than getting the exemption right at the time they get their property tax bill. For these individuals who are on fixed incomes, that's going to be very difficult to go. I'm very concerned about that aspect of it. A tax cut that will increase for a family of four making $60,000 a year. They're going to get $43 in year one. But I want to go to the farming side of this. We're trying to help family farms, but this is going in the wrong. This minimum wage, make no mistake, my colleagues, this minimum wage is going to destroy the family farm in New York State. The governor was on TV earlier saying this is going to make a national impact, and he's right. We're going to destroy the family farm in New York State. Just right now, before this minimum wage increase goes in, the total labor costs in New York right now is 63% of net cash farm income. Net farm income, I'm going to talk about this later on the minimum wage too because it's that important. The net income is the amount families have to pay their living expenses, to repay their debt, reinvest in equipment, buildings, and livestock. 63% before the minimum wage goes in. That's compared to the U.S. average, which is 36%. An increase like this is going to be devastating to our family farm. And Farm Credit East did a study. This is going to increase their labor costs anywhere from 30 to 50%. And farms that were profitable before this, anywhere from 1,300 to 2,000 family farms that were profitable based on this proposal, 13 to 2,000 farms are going to go in the negative. This proposal, this minimum wage proposal, is going to be a disaster for our family farms, not to mention our not-for-profits, and when we see the bill, we'll see how that all comes up and what kind of help's there for them. I'm not sure we're going to see it. But for our family farms, I'm very concerned as someone who has more wineries in their district than any other member in the legislature, someone who has dairy farms all over the place. Agriculture is supposed to be our #1 industry. The governor promotes, we're going to support our wineries, and a proposal like this is going to be devastating. The tax cut proposal in here for farms, quite frankly, is an insult. When I talk to my farmers back at home, they're going to say, this isn't going to do anything for me, and quite frankly, you're not going to spend any money on it because they're all going to be these farms are going to be going out of business. I'm very, very concerned about where this is going, this minimum wage proposal, which is not here yet. But with this proposal, I'm very, very concerned. Mr. Speaker, I think part of my frustration and my questions with this area is This is a very important issue for me and for a lot of members on our side of the aisle, and I think some members on your side of the aisle as well. Last year, there was a settlement reached between the administration to deal with special housing units in our prison population. This was a tool that was used to deal with inmates who are violent, who are abusing the system, hurting corrections officers, hurting other inmates. And it took away some tools. This settlement took away some tools in using of these special housing units or solitary confinement. I have a concern about that because we're providing a settlement that's going to provide additional money to deal with that issue, but there's no more money to deal with new corrections officers in our prisons. There's no money to deal with training for our corrections officers so they can be safe and know what's going on. There's no money for drug dogs. Drugs, you talk to anyone, our corrections officers in our prison population, drugs are a major problem in our prisons, but not enough drugs for all the drug dogs for the prisons. I don't understand that. This governor has touted the number of prison closures he's made under his watch, including Monterey Shock, which in my opinion was the absolute worst decision, one of the worst decisions this governor has ever made, and this House accepting it. The fact of the matter is, each and every day, we have brave men and women that go into our prisons that go to work, and they don't know if they're going to come home or going to be attacked. Just recently this month, I had a corrections officer in Elmira who was stabbed 3 times. They were trying to break up a fight. They wouldn't listen, and they were stabbed 3 times. We have inmates who are continually being hacked. The assaults in our prison continue to rise. And the issue of double bunking and double selling is still there. I know some have said it's gone away. It's not. I've visited prisons all around the state in my district. You have bunks on top of each other. This is not a safe environment for the corrections officer, and it's certainly not a safe environment for the inmates in that type of situation. If we're going to make that type of commitment to settle lawsuits and make sure that services are provided for our inmates in the prison population, we certainly owe a responsibility and have an obligation to protect the brave men and women who risk their life, who go into a dangerous situation when they leave their families in the morning or night, if it's a shift work, and don't know what's going to happen. We need to give them the tools and resources so they can do their job. We don't want to know what's going on in the prisons. We drive by the prisons. We just hope that people stay in there. But there's brave men and women working in these facilities each and every day, and the fact of the matter is they're not giving the tools they need to do their job so they can be safe. We need to give them the drug dogs so they can sniff out the drugs in prison. We need to give them the training they need. We need to get rid of these double bunking and double selling situations to make sure the situation is safe for the corrections officers and for the inmates. And for talking about all the prison closures and wanting to say how good that is, the assaults continue to rise in our prisons. And the medium security prisons are getting worse and worse because the violent offenders, they're more in those medium security prisons as well. So I think this administration, I think this House really needs to look at this. I don't know, obviously it's not in this bill. Maybe it's in one of the next bills. I doubt it. I would like to see a commitment from this governor to stand up for those individuals who protect us each and every day, doing the job that we don't want to think about, seeing things that we don't even want to see or hear about, but they're at risk every day, and sooner or later, you're going to see another inmate stabbed or attacked, another correction officer stabbed or attacked, and one of the days they're going to lose their life. We need to stand up for these brave men and women who stand up for us, and that's a concern I have, and hopefully we can see more of a commitment from this administration and this body moving forward on this serious, serious issue.